GB News has been billed not by themselves as much, but more by their opposition, as being Britain's answer to Fox News, which would be lovely, to be honest, because we have literally nothing in the way of television news or any TV channels that you could consider to be right-wing or explicitly right-wing, and everything else, of course, has a massive left-wing bias. And so this provoked the ire of all of the left-wingers who are creating the milieu of bias that GB News is objecting to. And they posted articles like this: GB News is opposing a BBC woke media tyranny that does not exist. Just go and look at the BBC. Imagine saying this. Right?
Says us, the media.
Yeah, it says us, the media, the woke media. But just go to the BBC and go to, like, the iPlayer and stuff like that, and just search for the word racism. See how many programs about racism, and then transgenderism and gays and all these other woke talking points. It's constant. It's non-stop.
Pure identity politics.
Pure identity politics, and I'm forced to pay for it. Right? So, anyway, this was
Plus, I love how as someone who writes this, like, they're clearly mad that this exists. Why are you mad if it doesn't exist?
Yeah. And if it's no threat to you at all, why bring it up? But yeah, anyway, so they're very unhappy about this, and an organisation called Stop Funding Hate played into the channel's hands by demanding an advertising boycott, giving the impression that the cancel culture, which has led to speakers being no platform at universities, is being used to censor British media and enabling Neil to brand them as woke warriors.
What did he say? Creating?
But what woke media tyranny that doesn't exist, except until you decide to challenge it, and then they're like, right, advertising boycott, deplatform, get rid of it. So, proving the point.
Gave an impression. What does Stop Funding Hate do? It's a Twitter account. It's literally just a Twitter account, like, what was it, the one in the US?
Yeah, Sleeping Giants.
Sleeping Giants that just endlessly, like, tags companies and harasses them into saying that you should not be funding this because we don't like it.
Yeah.
We think their ideology bad, so don't fund.
Yeah.
That's all they do. And you don't get an equivalent on the right, as far as I've seen. It doesn't happen. Occasionally they'll do a boycott because they think, like, Coca-Cola will come out and say, be less white. That's about it.
But that's exactly true. But again, the identity politics saturates everything that the media does. And so for them to come out and go, well, there's no woke tyranny. Okay, well, then let's see the far-right news programs on the BBC if they're fairly representing everyone. And exactly, the very notion is just hilarious, isn't
Cooking with Nick Griffin. It's not going to happen.
But I mean, like, but even like Piers Morgan is too far right for GMB. Yeah. And it's just like, how is if Piers Morgan is too right wing for you? You have a problem.
Like the former editor of the Mirror.
Yeah. and a woke warrior in his own right. But anyway, not to give Piers Morgan any hassle, but I love this. Right, he says the idea that our diverse and rumbustious. Never even heard of that word. Rumbustious. News industry is stifled by self-imposed gag of political correctness is nonsense. Okay, well, why are they doing all of this? What's the point? Why have GB News if they feel this way? And then another point that they make is like, well, look at all these Good Morning Britain. Great Britain News people. Richard Sharp, the BBC chairman, was a Goldman. Oh no, sorry, that's the wrong part. But they're complaining that these people are all insiders, and it's like, yeah, people from inside the media are like, hey, we're being stifled by woke bias to the point where we're literally going to scrape together £60 million and found a new television news station, and you're like, yeah, but that doesn't exist. It's like, well, who else would you ask? Like, the people involved are literally saying it.
Like, there are plenty of people within these organisations that are finding it insufferable, but still stick around because, you've got to get a job.
Yeah.
But then they've managed to build their own. All the complaining, just go and build your own. They've done it.
Yeah.
And now you're still mad. Wonder why.
But saying, look, you've got no reason to be mad, even though they're literally saying, well, look, we've worked in the media for like 20 years or however long Andrew Neil's been doing it, and it's got to the point where it's absolutely insufferable, to the point where we're literally going to go to the unbelievable hassle of setting up our own media company. Now, just say, we set up our own media company and it's a lot of work. And we didn't have like £60 million. We don't have, the scale of the operation that GB News has. And I can tell you that it's a lot of work. And so if you're going to go to this amount of effort, there has to be a pretty good animating reason behind it. And so, like, defending BBC News, going to stigmatise BBC News as woke and out of touch as Andrew Neil has done, is a casual slur on its vast daily journalistic output. Or it's just an accurate description of what the BBC is like now. Anyway, so GB News presents itself as a radical alternative, but it's a product of the TV news establishment. See, this is exactly the point. Yeah, exactly. It's a product of the TV news establishment. They are saying you're insufferably woke, and you're like, no, we're not. No, we're not. You don't exist. But I love this. If GB News can score some ratings wins over Sky News, which has a tiny audience on a slow news day, it might persuade its wealthy funders to add to the 60 million invested. God, you sound salty. Where's your 60 million, eh? That's what you're asking. You can knock up George Soros. GB News is targeting the culture wars of identity politics because it'll know it would be backed by a right-wing press, which has a commercial interest in bashing the BBC and exaggerating the woke boogeyman. Oh, don't even start. Oh, it's just an exaggeration and a boogeyman. Okay, all right. Then why are you so bothered about it?
Why do we have jobs?
Why?
Specifically based on what race you are.
Why?
Which boogeyman did that?
But why are you so bothered? If someone was like, look, right, there's a giant Bigfoot conspiracy, and I'm going to debunk it, I would be like, oh, you debunking it? I'd be like, okay,
yeah, I know, I ignore you all the time.
Yeah, I don't. But I don't care, because I don't think there is, and so I wouldn't be bothered by it. But then they end with this. Some people, it seems, are threatened by efforts to achieve racial and gender equality. Oh, is this the woke tyranny that you're talking about? This is so you're actually, at the very end of it, you're just going to admit that there is a woke tyranny. But let's not be kidded that our society, least of all our media, is in the grip of a woke tyranny. Yeah, it is. It absolutely is. And everyone knows it. This is why this is coming into being. But anyway, so the next one was just, people on Twitter. A chap called Sam Bright, verified checkmark on Twitter.
Ironic name.
It's not impartial. It's not impartial. No. It's called GB News. Like, it couldn't be more explicit on their editorial bias. Andrew Neil, in his opening monologue, came out and was like, by the way, we're news that is not... We're proud to be British, and we're not anti-Britain. And it's like, well, that's not impartial. No, but you're not either. I mean, your wing of politics has spent the last 10 years literally demolishing the concept of objectivity and impartiality. They've decided that everything is permeated with a kind of white bias, or whatever kind of bias that they claim it is to be in a particular country. And so, like, saying, well, you're not impartial, no, but you aren't either, and you don't believe in impartiality. So that charge means nothing.
Yeah. I mean, the single best example of this has to be Panodrama, the documentary Lord Voldemort made about BBC Panorama, who tried to do a sting on him.
Yeah, John Sweeney and his impartial hit piece on, the far right, the far centre, really, is what we should describe it as, because
that's his political compass.
Yeah, Lord Voldemort's political compass is way too left wing for me.
It actually is, though. That's the weird thing.
I know,
He's literally like one square down and like one square to the right, and that's it.
I'm way more libertarian than he is, and it's okay, fine. But anyway, so yeah, these are the sort of criticisms that are coming in. The next one is actually, I think, my favourite one by Sam, and it's quite amazing how it's basically blood and soil leftism. Let's play the clip.
GB News is majority owned by people who live outside the UK. The firm that owns GB News is called All Perspectives Limited. All Perspectives Limited has 4 people with significant control of shares. The first is Mark Stolson, who comes from Malta and lives in the United Arab Emirates. The UAE is also home to GB News owners Alan McCormick and Christopher Chandler. Chandler is a New Zealander, which is 19,000 miles away from Britain. The final firm with significant control of shares is Discovery Communications Europe Limited. While this subsidiary is based in the UK, in London, Discovery itself is based in the United States, which used to be governed by Britain, but certainly isn't anymore. All Perspectives Limited, that owns GB News, has 8 officers and directors. Half of these individuals don't live in Britain. That includes Andrew Neil, who founded the platform, who is listed as living in France, specifically a villa in the south of France. GB News is many things, but it isn't British.
Okay, Nazi.
That's hilarious.
Like, literally blood and soil leftism here, right? So, I mean, this is amazing. I don't care, right? I don't care at all, and I don't see why anyone would care, because we're talking about other concepts. We're not talking about blood lineage or geographic location, actually. Believe it or not, if it's okay for us to talk about something other than the genes of the people involved, byline times.
Shares of a parent company in a foreign country, that's fine.
Yeah, we're talking about other concepts, actually. Things like loyalty, fidelity, compassion, things like this. Things that the left aren't really very au fait with. I just use a French word. Sorry, Byline Times. I'm sorry, I just use a French word when I'm talking to you. I know that's wrong, and I should be pure British nationalism, but like
the main host, Andrew Neil, he has a house in France, therefore he's not British. He's a foreigner. But also the New Zealand guy, like he's from New Zealand, therefore he's a foreigner. It's like,
are they?
What? Doesn't make any sense.
It's like the Americans. Oh, they're from America. Oh, yeah, that's got nothing to do with Britain, you know.
Oh boy. Yeah, that's just as foreign as Mongolia.
Yeah, exactly.
But then also the guy from Malta, like he lives in the UAE. Okay. Like, as soon as I leave the country, am I then a foreigner? Is that from then on?
Exactly. Like, it's an amazing argument, because the thing is, you make an argument if you're unhappy with something and you have a criticism of something. And it implies that if all of these things were actually located in Britain and all of these people were all British, Byline TV would have no complaints and be fully on board because of the Nazi standards that they're applying to GB News. And you're like, hang on, you're not Nazi enough for us to support you? Sorry. You know, I guess they're not. You know? Good for them.
Oh, boy. But I love how they're also like, yeah, these guys are abroad and they own shares.
Foreign.
It's like, yeah, this is international capitalism.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Where's that going?
That's exactly right. We'll get to that, because like it is genuinely like they feel that international finance is with echo quotes presumably is puppeteering GB News. That was the primary argument from the very left wing organisations that were attacking GB News, which was hilarious. But the next one was just the follow back pro Europe people. You can see, with very sensible European Union flags in their bios. People, you know, like if we can scroll up a bit on this one, please, John. So Sam Bright again. Dan Wootton has spent 5 minutes on GB News broadcasting conspiracy theories about coronavirus being a scare story. I'm old enough to remember an hour ago when Andrew Neil promised this new network wouldn't spread baseless fake news. GB News is British Fox News, and our democracy is going to suffer for it. Yes.
Our democracy.
Yeah. No, your democracy is going to suffer for it. My democracy is going to be great. But anyway, so the next one is just The Independent. The whole channel is founded on a false prospectus. GB News was a disaster from start to finish. Yeah, keep coping.
Disaster for who?
Yeah, exactly. Who is the disaster for? It's you guys, isn't it? You don't like this. For an hour, Andrew Neil, out of sync but reading an elegantly written editorial, laid out his tenditious agenda. I love the way they're literally breaking out the thesaurus to write these pieces.
Well, you know, you got to put that English degree to work somehow.
You do, because no one else is going to employ you to do it. For his rolling not news channel, pretty much everything in our delectation was a reason not to flick past Russia Today and Al Jazeera and tune in. The very first proper show featured a foxy fact-free monologue by Dan Wootton that wouldn't have shamed Tucker Carlson. Look, as a fan of Tucker Carlson, you know, Dan did okay, but he's not Tucker. I mean, come on.
I'm sure he'd agree.
Yeah, he would take that as a massive compliment. So thank you. He said on a couple of occasions that there were boos when the England team took the knee, but never mentioned the applause the players received. That didn't seem very truthful.
When did they get the applause?
Slightly after.
Exactly. So when they stood up, they got the applause. I mean, if you thought about that for a minute, like that's where the applause comes in, you moron.
Didn't seem very truthful. There was a terrible irony in some of the showcase presenters, as far as I could discern, banging on about how voices aren't being heard when their microphones weren't working. Well, we'll talk about their technical issues in a minute, and to be fair, it's the first day, give them a break. Although you could make the counter-argument, you are all news media professionals. We weren't, you know. Anyway, whoever runs GB Sound for GB News needs firing. I got the message, though. The constant repetitive line that the BBC, Sky News and ITV are ignoring views they don't like. The sort of things people outside the metropolitan elite disdain. And it's time to let those opinions have the space they need because the people have been silenced for too long. It's a lie.
No, everything that was true.
Come on.
It's demonstrably true.
Come on.
I mean, how many movements just can't get on these kind of organizations? They're just ignored. And when they do have one representative, it'll be one of them and like 5 people from the progressive left.
Look at BBC Question Time. Every single week, it's literally like 4 left-wing people and then 1 conservative.
Yeah, I mean, it's Ben Shapiro's experience is all media in the UK, which is him and then 5 leftists.
Yeah.
And this is his job.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. Like to say that that's a lie is just an open lie in and of itself. The whole channel is founded on a false prospectus, and that it is there to act as some sort of antidote and balance to the other broadcasters who are citadels of groupthink, client journalism, and contemptuous of those who don't conform to liberal progressive values.
True.
That's all true.
True.
That's all true.
Best example. I'm sorry to keep bringing him up, but you know, British Voldemort.
Yep.
When he was arrested for contempt of court.
Yeah.
The first time round, proven by the judge on appeal that it was nonsense the way he was arrested and put in jail, and then they had to do the retrial.
Mm-hmm.
Before that judge made his decision, everyone was in agreement. Nothing happened. Everything went right. There was no problems with that arrest. There was no problems with the conviction. Everyone just said nothing and said everything was okay.
Yeah.
And then when the judge came back and was like, no, this is nonsense, they had to be like, oh, mea culpa, you know.
Yeah.
But all of you, Sky News, ITV, BBC, all of you did it. So it's correct assessment.
And again, they go, well, every GB News presenter is a creature and creation of these media elites. They don't understand how this is proving proving the point they're trying to refute. None of the GB presenters have been fished out of a boozer in Grimsby. Yeah, but that's the point. They're people from the inside who are like, wow, we're surrounded by this weird groupthink that hates Britain and won't let us express our views. We're going to have to go to the extent of founding our own media organisation to be able to express ourselves. But then they go, oh, the false founding, the GB News myth, is that the BBC, ITV, Sky News don't reflect the kind of anti-woke, Brexity, chippy views that GB News is supposedly the only safe space for. Yeah. All of them were unbelievably pro-Remain. I mean, like, what world do you live in when
the
you
BBC,
think
very Brexiteer, that one.
Sky News, man. Sky News was so insufferably Remain.
Like, they're owned by MSNBC.
Yeah, well, there we go. That tells you everything you need to know. But, they know Sky News Australia, obviously. Big shout out there, by the way. They are supposedly biased, unbalanced propaganda machines for the left. Yes. The BBC literally buys half of the Guardian's circulation on a daily basis. They are literally propaganda machines for the left. This is not true. Yes, it is true. It is true. You're a liar. Every mainstream news and current affairs show, including the much maligned Channel 4's news, strives to balance opinion and views and reflect public opinion. Who believes you? Do you believe yourself? Did you write this and going, well, look, I'm being paid to write this, so I have to write that, but that's obviously nonsense. There are certainly opinions that are not heard in the mainstream broadcast media, and they're not heard for a reason. They violate legislation or are borderline racist and dangerous to your health. Oh, there we go! We've arrived at the woke bias. You admit in your own article that this exists. These are borderline racist. This is your ideology. This is your ideology screaming. But anyway, of course, The Guardian, moving on, rated it 1 star.
How will they ever recover from this?
No, but that's... Yeah. Andrew Neil's alternative BBC, utterly deadly stuff. Oof, deadly, is it?
What is he going to do?
Andrew Neil is on a rampage, is he?
Like, he's going to kill the left. Good.
That was a great point, actually. Yeah, okay, keep going, Andrew. But can GB News change Britain's news agenda if no one watches it? The answer, incredibly, is yes. Wired magazine recently reported that GB News will be a success if it has reach rather than ratings, which means if it creates a controversy through interviews and reportage, it will create news or the clickbait semblance of it. Well, good news for The Guardian is that people are watching it. If we go on to the next one, we got the initial data from the viewer time slot between 7 o'clock and 11 o'clock at night, and GB News was number 1.
In the whole country.
In the whole country.
Even beating the state-funded BBC.
Oof.
Like, the most privileged organisation in British society and civilization of all time is the one that got BTFO'd.
But you have to remember as well, that the BBC News get literally privileged access to celebrities, politicians, and everything that's happening.
Everything's paid for.
Everything's paid for. They're massive as well. The BBC has scaled up in recent years.
They've got that institutional advantage as well of being around for decades.
Yeah, and being the BBC, Auntie Beeb, and GB News on its first day blew it out the water by 30,000 people. Sky News got almost 3 times what Sky News gets, which is the third. And to be honest with you, I'm looking at this thinking, wow, only 164,000 though.
Well, that's concurrent live viewers. I mean,
sure.
Imagine if you did a live stream and it got
But that's also over a 4-hour period.
I think that's the average, is how they calculate it for that 4-hour period.
Right. Okay.
I might be wrong.
Yeah, I don't know, but the point is, I expected more. But what are you going to do? But yeah. So anyway, this blew The Guardian out because they were like, well, what if no one watches it? Nah, loads of people watching it. It turns out this is the most popular news station in the UK. And The Guardian went on to complain about it winning. Well, I added this link afterwards, so John hasn't got it up. The proud to be British new channel has backers, including US Discovery and Dubai-based fund. Ah, yes, International Capital is subverting the UK media. I see where you're coming from, my Führer. You sound like a bunch of... Ooh, the international money.
International finance.
Yeah.
This guy from New Zealand sending money. Okay.
But all it is the Nazi complaint.
I love, but it's like it's New Zealand or this guy from Malta. Like it's not China. Like these are former colonies of ours. They're in the Commonwealth. They're friends. Oh.
Yeah, but yeah. Anyway, so the next thing is, of course, the attempt to get them deplatformed. So someone on Twitter had just posted, deplorable Bristolian on Twitter had posted we should thank all of these companies who are advertising with GB News, and Copperberg UK, which is a cider manufacturer, replied saying, thanks for bringing this to our attention. We want to make it clear to everyone that our ad ran on this channel without our knowledge or consent. Copperberg is a drink for everyone, and we have immediately suspended our ads for this channel pending further review of its content. No woke tyranny, folks. GB News.
You see the flag there? You see in Copperberg?
Yes, there's a pride flag, yes.
It's not just a pride flag, it's the racial pride flag.
Oh, good point.
With the black and brown stripes.
That's right. The race pride people at Copperberg were like, hang on, we can't have GB News, what I'm going to generously call centre-right news station, carrying our adverts. That would be awful. That would be tantamount to Nazism.
But I love the idea that, like, oh, we had no idea. It's like, what, did you slip and fall? Like,
No. In their defence, what they probably do is outsource advertising to separate companies.
Yeah, possibly.
And so there probably is a chain that has to go through.
Yeah.
So
Someone was like, hey, this GB News is really popular. Let's put ads on it.
And Copperberg were like, great, we'd like lots of people to buy our product. And then they were like, oh, hang on a second. You guys aren't blood and soil nationalists. Return that money. Yeah. We're not advertising on your channel. So, amazing.
Copperberg, the Swedes, the Nazi collaborators, in the bin. In the bin. Not useful.
not interested in the internationalist GB News. How dare they?
Thatcher seems to be all right. They haven't done anything like this that I've seen. So
that's true. Yeah. So anyway, the next thing, of course, is GB News on the very first day, complaining to Ofcom about the poor competitive environment of the market, because it appears that BBC, ITN, and Sky have been blocking their access to a broadcast pooling system. Now, this is where they've got various amounts of sort of footage of common events that they take and pull together so everyone can use it, and it's just, a nice thing to do. And of course, GB News got blocked from this because why? Why would you need to do that? Yeah. Well, obviously because they were terribly threatened.
They're not real journalism, unlike us.
But they came from the inside media establishment. There's no woke tyranny going on, but you're not allowed our stuff. We're going to deplatform you, defund you, and all this on day one. Amazing. And so, yeah, this is a complaint that GB News put into Ofcom, and let's hope they uphold it, because obviously GB News should be allowed to compete with all of the other news channels in exactly the same environment. Anyway, so moving on to what we thought of GB News, what did you think?
I didn't watch a whole lot of it, because I don't watch TV, so it didn't really pop up hugely. I saw some clips on Twitter. Andrew Neil's monologue was good.
Yeah.
Woke Watch with
Andrew Doyle.
My
boy.
Was very good.
He was.
Because there was a great point in which Andrew Neil said it's not illegal to be offensive in the UK, and Andrew Doyle was like,
kind of is.
Section 127 Communication Act.
Only if you don't put it on the internet.
Yeah. So, other than that, yeah, seems good.
So
you wouldn't get that discussion anywhere else. Doesn't even get mentioned.
Absolutely. And so I've got to say, I wasn't massively impressed with the look. So if we skim through this video a bit, John, you can see this is the teaser video that they put out. If you just get about halfway through the video, then you get to see the way it's presented by the presenters. A bit further on. There we go. Right, so you got Andrew Neil. He's probably in his home in France here, but the point is, this is a very nice aesthetic, right? It's bright, it's summery, it looks like you could be in an English country garden or something. It's got a nice greenery in the background, and all of the presenters are in a vaguely similar setting, right? And so it gives the impression of being very open, and it was appealing to me. I thought it was very homely. And then we get to Andrew Neil's monologue, which, again, good monologue, but I can't understand the rationale behind the set. I don't want to be excessively critical, but that kind of looks like my office back at home, with the curtains in the background, and it's very dark. Why is everything so dark? It kind of looks like the layer of a villain, right? And that's not. I don't think that's the right aesthetic to put across at all. Obviously, not including the audio problems that they've been having and various technical glitches.
But again, those get smoothed out.
Yeah, excess. Yeah, exactly. We've been there. The excessive harping on about that by left-wingers who are in very privileged positions by joining companies that already have a very well-established process. Yeah, it's easy for you to say, right? But the choices for the background I find very peculiar. Why not have a kind of Fox News style, like, series of screens behind you that just have nice British looking decorations and patterns on that animate gently behind you, just to look professional and, again, just normal, but otherwise it looks a bit dark and kind of supervillainish, and I think that's definitely the wrong look. And this is from people who are very sympathetic to what GB News are doing. The next one is like Dan Wotton's one as well. Just, I don't know what the point of the background here is, because I mean this looks like a London apartment to me, like with the table and the shelves and stuff in the background. It doesn't capture the spirit of Britain to me.
Like you're visiting someone's house.
Yeah, but not just that. You're visiting someone's house, not just London. It could be any city, right? This feels as if it's in a high-rise apartment block in Manhattan or Dubai or something like that. It could be anywhere, but I think not great aesthetics.
Yeah, do better with a cottage or something kind of feel.
Yeah,
just something more British.
Yeah, or just something more like daytime TV-ish. To be honest, there's no need to try and look like modern and edgy, because that's actually not the appeal of GB News. The appeal of GB News is actually nostalgia and comfort and homeliness. And like I said, not criticizing the presenters or anything like that. I actually think they've all done a fairly good job, especially because this is new and they've also got like the eyes of the media world on them.
Yeah,
so the
pressure must be immense.
The pressure must be immense. There's going to be hypercritical, and so it's a difficult place that they've been in, and I think they've had a relatively good start, even with the technical problems, which have been noted by places like the Telegraph, again, outlets you'd expect to be reasonably sympathetic. But again, maybe being a little harsh on the technical side, but for the aesthetics, I think they could have done better. If you enjoyed this segment from the podcast of the Lotus Eaters, you can watch the full broadcast live every weekday at 1 p.m. UK time on lotuseaters.com.